This week, we replace Josh with Marc Straight of Worlds of REM, go on a first-person shooty adventure, Peter Molyneux gets #wrecked, and my friend Bernie needs love. Get ready to brawl your way through the RPG world on this episode of the Indie Game Riot.
Indie Game Riot!
Hey everybody, it's Rev, and this week on Indie Game Riot, episode 38?
Yeah, 38.
We're getting up there.
And Josh isn't here.
Yeah, Josh isn't here. He's currently in New York City doing Indiecade East. So mad props to him. We tried getting him on here, but it was, well, it's convention Wi-Fi in a shitty hotel Wi-Fi, whatever. Anyways, he can't make it because streaming on Wi-Fi sucks.
Yeah.
So he is going to join us next week where we do our Indiecade East recap. Indiecade. And we're joined this week with Worlds of REM designer and head developer, president, CEO, etc., man of many hats, Marc Straight of Panic Games.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. So before we dive too far into the episode, we've got some awesome stuff that I mentioned in the intro. So Rev, what have you been up to this week?
I have been playing AAA trash this week. It was nice. I finally finished a game. I was playing Republic Commando, the only Star Wars game that I have never played before, and I finally managed to get a copy of it from the Humble Bundle and finished it last night as my sleeping pills were kicking in. Working lots, and I started playing Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Yeah.
So
how do you like that?
Very interesting game. The dual control concept, like one controller, two players, or two characters at the same time, kind of fucks with me in my head. It doesn't make sense. I have to keep them on their own side of the screen, otherwise I just end up fucking up. But no, lots of just normal, same old, and so envious I couldn't make it to Indiecade East.
Yeah, same. I have. Actually, no. I'm going to go last. I'm going to let Marc tell us what's up.
All right. What's up this week, Marc?
Well, me and the rest of the development team are 3 weeks away from PAX East and showing there on show floor, which is really, really exciting and terrifying simultaneously. And then, so there's that. We're also, just on a personal note, I'm working on a Scarehouse album, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like the little spook house haunted places. Yeah, I'm working on that, and also just getting ready for the next coming weeks. It's going to be pretty amazing.
Sweet.
Cool.
How
about you, Tech?
So for those of you in the live chat, my birthday is tomorrow on Valentine's Day. For those of you listening to the recorded version, yes, belated happy birthdays. Yes, my birthday's on Valentine's Day. Yeah, whoop-de-doo.
But it's like a pre-steak and a blowjob day, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. On top of that, presents. So I've been either picking stuff up. I got myself a new phone. I got myself a Moto G, and if you see what's on the screen there, Rev, you awful person.
What?
I have been tapping on Bitcoin Billionaire for the last week, and it's like it's crack. Like right now, I hate that. Dang it. Whatever.
Right?
I just got a stupid power.
I had to like start locking my phone as we were recording because I was still playing it, and I finally
I'm putting it down.
It was addicting. So
I also got the biggest light bulb ever. This thing is, I got 2 of these. One of them I'm using right now to shoot this video. I got these for green screen stuff, for Indie Game Riot video stuff that I'm planning, that you guys might be seeing. I know I've been talking about a lot. Life happens.
Spiraled for her pleasure?
Yeah. Maybe, something like that. But yeah, other than that, just mostly just chilling and, living the life, living the Indie Game Riot life. And yeah, and with Josh here, I feel really bad.
Not here. With Josh.
Exactly. It's throwing me off. It's throwing me off so much that I can't think of like a stupid segue to move into indie news injection.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an indie news injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
And this week on Indie News Injection, first up, we all know him. We all used to love him. We kinda... Well, okay. Peter Molyneux, get fucked. Okay. All right. So for those of you that aren't up to speed on what's going on, there was a successful Kickstarter back in 2012 that raised just over £500,000 British pounds. And that's a lot more money in real people dollars. And it kind of... There's been a lot of development hell on this. They tied it in. It was for a game called Godus, or Godus, or however. I don't know. His naming conventions always bother me. But in typical Peter fashion, he basically promised the world. This was going to be the spiritual successor to Black and White. The God games. And he tied it in with that one, what was the name of it? Curiosity, where everybody just clicked on the screen for 600 million man hours, and then, somebody's life is going to change, and that person is going to end up being the god of gods in this game. But it was really kind of an interesting marketing thing, but that was back in 2012, and at the time of the Kickstarter, they were only asking for, I think it was something like $250,000 or 50,000, pounds, and said that the game would be done in 7 to 9 months, and we're now going on 3 years later. And we have nothing. We have a horrible, shitty mobile game that apparently gets 95% of all of the dev team attention. And the PC game, the Steam version, has been sitting untouched, at least to the public's perception, for over a year. And it's been selling on Steam's early access. Well, one of the guys at Rock Paper Shotgun called up Peter and asked for an interview, and he agreed. And they spent like an hour and a half. And this is one of those interviews that, on the one hand, I feel really, really bad about. Because, their conversation starts with, "So, Peter, do you think that you're a pathological liar?"
Yeah. Yeah, that part, there were parts, before we really dive into a lot of the stuff and, Peter Molyneux as a developer, the interview, the interviewer, I think, was pissed. I think that, and, rightfully so, this game is 3 years late. Oh man, does he deserve that sort of criticism, or
yes,
that sort of really, I don't know, but that line though, it does get better.
It was definitely. Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, by the way.
Yeah, Josh is here. We found him.
Yeah. Anyway, but do you think that Steam should take up. We've talked about before, last episode even, about games being removed from Steam for not being completed or whatever. Do you think Steam should kick him out of early access?
Yep.
At this point,
Yeah,
Like, just with this bullshit.
It's been, well, not even just necessarily because of the current attention that's on it, but simply for the fact that it's been sitting in early access for over a year with no actual, like, if you read through the interview, and I highly recommend that you do, it is typical, I would say typical Peter Molyneux, kind of cross purposes talk, and he does a fantastic. I have to give the man credit. He has amazing ideas.
Yep.
He is one of those ideas guys that, like, I am so envious of. My ideas are like, I could do a stick figure and it can punch things. And he's like, well, we could invent an entire universe and stick it into a sock, and then that sock's going to go out into space.
He should just come up with ideas and then sell them. Let other people handle it, because he obviously can't follow through.
Well, but here's the other thing. He has great ideas, and he talks about having great ideas for great games, and then those games just turn out. And this is also sort of going back in time with who he is. Like, it's almost a buyer beware at this point. Like, he is almost like Steam early access himself. It's like, hey, disclaimer, Peter Molyneux's making this game. Don't listen to him. Like, this guy's gonna start spouting stuff that the people who are making the Xbox One are gonna start spouting, only to change it in 4 months. Like, think about it. What he said about the Fable series and what the Fable series was gonna have, whether they were lies or whether they were just things that ended up not being in there. You talk about Godus, and that is such a hard name to say, and the fact that it hasn't even been touched. I mean, I guess it has been, but it's like even like we crap on a lot of like, we get mad at a lot of devs for not updating a game, but like this is a little bit much, you know?
Well, we've got a game dev here that seems to be one of those idea guys. Mark, what's your take on this? I mean, I don't know if you read the interview. Huh?
Idea guy, come up with an idea.
Yeah, really.
Come on.
So I have a very mixed feeling about both of these. Like, while I definitely agree that I first of all, full disclosure, I really hate the entire early access trend that has happened. Okay. I think if people want to complain about anything, like the whole DLC argument, what season pass thing, they should be angry about early access, because most of the time early access is terrible. The graphics are shit. The mechanics, a lot of them aren't even in there for the most part, or even polished. And then you have like a half-done game, and you're like, yeah, I was a part of QAing this for free. Like that's essentially what you're doing when you get into early access for a lot of it. You're a free QA, and like I dislike early access. So anyway, So more along the lines of like with what he's doing as far as like, we're in the development hell thing. I really don't. I really think that it should be pulled off of Steam, but I can understand having like a game that will that puts you in a bind as far as like mechanics or things not being able to, things getting left on the cutting room floor, because we've been in development for Worlds of REM for a year just for the demo, because we wanted everything about the demo to be able to be reflective of the full game. Well, even in the demo, even though we wanted to be reflective of the full game, we've had to leave behind 3 or 4 different mechanics that we can't show just because of space. Just because of space in that the demo can be, and that really sucks. And it's something that like I as a developer, like I really am invested in a lot of the mechanics that we put into the game, and it really bothers me. And so I'm sure in a lot of ways it bothers him to have stuff left on the cutting room floor for any of his games. But as far as like being in development for 3 years or however long for a game that he said he'd be able to finish in 7 months,
it's not even.
Good. Sorry.
No. I finish your thought.
So it's like he's been in development for a long period of time, and he also got a lot more money than he anticipated. So along with you getting more money, people overshoot the extra money that they get, and usually they overcompensate, and that's usually when a lot of failures happen from what I've seen, and that's another big problem.
Yeah, and he also talked about it in the interview about how he the dev team made more than they asked for it, and yet it wasn't enough money, and talks about the state of Kickstarter and how Kickstarter can't, developers like to think that they could do a game for X number of dollars, but really it's going to be more. But and those are totally real, explanations.
Issues.
Like and I think that the sort of negative flack that he was getting from the interviewer from saying that is a little bit misplaced, because any dev is going to say that.
Here's my problem with this, though. I mean, if it was an issue of scope creep, or it was an issue of, we had this really great, fantastic idea, and unfortunately everything that we wanted to go into it, we had to cut half of it. No, this isn't those same lines. This is 3 years later. He's still trying to work on the core mechanic of the game. They're according to the interview, they're going to be focusing on combat, which is the core mechanic of God versus God combat. And I actually think that it's one of those. I don't know. I've like Joshua said earlier, it's kind of a buyer beware. It's Peter Molyneux, and you can totally get your hopes up. But
yeah, it's the idea. Yeah, being able to say that you're going to do something and then doing it are obviously two different things. And I think what a lot of people have a big problem with is that this guy's been in making games since 1982
for 30 years.
It's been 30 years. He should either know by now that he needs to hire, coming from like a video and film background myself, you have to know what you can do and then who you need to pay to do things better. And
we talk about scope. Scope is always important. I mean,
exactly.
It's not like this is a game jam game, but that's one thing indie devs always have to worry about is what can they do within their limits. It's great to have all these crazy ideas, but I mean, what use is it to have all these ideas if there's no way that you can do them?
Yeah.
So you have to start sacrificing. You have to start, just kind of compromising to get it out there in an appropriate amount of time with the resources that you got.
There's right ways and there's wrong ways of doing that. The part that I came away from the interview that really stuck with me is that when the interviewer was hammering on the point that Peter Molyneux, you lie constantly, and he says, well, no, I am saying what I believe. And I think the part that really stuck with me on that is that it's totally possible to believe in what you do and what your dream is, but you can't promise that dream and then not deliver any. I mean, we've it's on Steam, so let's talk about Valve for a second. How long has it been since Half-Life 2 Chapter 2 I think is what they were on.
Episode,
We've been
yeah.
waiting 5 years now for
No.
chapter 3.
It's been more than that.
I think that's partially marketing tactics too.
But at the
Yeah.
same time,
No, yeah.
we all want it to happen.
Well, but here's the
they
difference.
never said,
Here's the
hey,
difference.
it'll be out
But-
in 3 years.
But we didn't buy that game. We didn't give them money and say, hey, here's some money, make that game for us. And then all of a sudden, that money's been spent, and we're like, hey, where's that money that we spent? You know, like, I guess that's also the difference. There was a Kickstarter. He made a money lined suit jacket. He made what was the number? It was like $700,000 US on that game.
Yeah, it was $500,000
Yeah.
British pounds.
So, like, we're not like, where is that money? Like, and that's so much money. And obviously, everyone's like, oh, if I had that much money, but you were saying, Josh?
Maybe the money has gone into something experimental.
Like the next game that they announced, The Trail.
That's,
Okay.
That's a segue.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't meant to be a segue. That was meant to be saying if we keep going down the Peter Molyneux hole, I'm just going to spend the entire time like fuck shit.
And like this is going to be turning into a
you're right.
fish
Yeah,
situation.
basically,
So,
argue about it
that's
in
why
the
I'm
comments.
segueing.
Argue about it everywhere else. One thing that you can't argue about is how awesome GDC is.
Right?
And
Why does he get the segue?
it's because I'm on a roll with the segues. So yeah, do you want to talk about it, Josh? Do you want me to talk about it?
Oh, you got it, man.
So-
I came in late. I haven't even
That's
know what
true.
that means, though.
So GDC's experimental gameplay workshop, the lineup has come out, and some of these are like, I mean, you know, they're experimental, so you don't have to like everything. What's that?
I just not to change it from GDC, but just because it's something that I can talk about. I've seen some experimental shit today.
Yeah.
Man,
how was it?
talk to you guys about that. It was weird stuff.
So, just talking about some of these games. Obviously, list will be in links in the description. Phonopath, a puzzle-based game that's just basically audio, I guess.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for that. Sorry, I had to cut you off. But I'm really
No,
excited.
it's okay.
No,
and
please do, Mark. You're a part of our show tonight.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Phonopath.
So,
from what
like,
you know.
a friend of mine was showing me some stuff about it. Actually, before it was shown on Indicate, and it's so cool because when there's a walkthrough on it on YouTube that I watched for I think 2 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah, I watched it for 2 hours, just like in awe of how crazy this game is, and it was just like it was made for people like me that like I love puzzle games, and I hate that audio isn't more frequent in games or more like focused on, because there's a lot of crazy stuff that you can do with audio, and like the guy did it. He was like, "Hey Mark, I made exactly what you want, and here you go. This is gonna be a game." And I'm like, I swear to God, if there was a Kickstarter for this, I would throw $80 at it without even. I don't even care if there was like an $80 like. If he capped out at 15, I still throw him 80 because I'd be like, "Give me this. I'm going to give you money until you give me this."
I'm now super interested.
Yeah, really.
in that. The one that really drew my attention out of this list is actually Line Wobbler, the one-dimensional dungeon crawler.
It's also known as how Rev walks on every night when he's drinking.
Right? Yeah, I'm supposed to drive to karaoke after the show. I don't know if that's going to happen. But no, it's a one-dimensional dungeon crawler, and the controller is made out of a upside-down shoe spanner and a meter-plus long LED strip display. It seems kind of experimental gameplay,
and it's running on an Arduino.
All right.
What? All right.
No, this this whole lineup, like it reminds me. I don't know if you remember our Indicate West episode, but there was the blanket controller experience, and like this whole thing, just every single one of these just kind of like leaps out and goes, no, this is interesting, and it's a different take, and some of the other highlights on this, that Dragon Cancer.
I was gonna mention that. I'm kind of surprised that that's considered experimental. I mean, I thought we were kind of past the whole like storytelling as a game is now experimental all of a sudden, but now I thought it was pretty generalized as far as now that's kind of like a genre of game now, not experimental.
Yeah,
because I mean that Dragon Cancer is just basically narrative. You know, it's like Gone Home except more depressing.
It's narrative, but it's using the game mechanics, the mechanics themselves, to try and instill specific emotions. Like it's not just, hey, here's the narrative. It's, you know, using, because I mean you can build emotional reaction through the game, through the story, through the animation, but gameplay mechanics trying to build emotion, that's something like playing Mini Metro or, you know, Hand of Fate or you know, Cities or Towns, whatever it was. Like I don't like, I'm just listing off games and I don't get an emotional connection to it.
Don't put Towns in the same thing as Hand of Fate and Mini Metro.
Yeah, really.
No, I'm just listing off games. That, like, okay, Shovel Knight. I did not have an emotional reaction to the game mechanics in Shovel Knight.
Nostalgia is an emotion, or just feeling.
That wasn't the mechanics. That was the game. That was the experience of the whole thing. It wasn't the mechanics specifically. And I think that's an interesting one. Another one that kind of excuse me, another one that kind of caught my attention is the pop-up book, the interactive pop-up book, Curiouser and Curiouser. It's based on Lewis Carroll Alice's adventure in Wonderland, and you have a pop-up. Maybe
it's similar to that game that I
Icebound.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, Icebound.
By the way, Icebound's at MagFest or freaking Indicate East is what I'm trying to say.
You need to talk to them.
Well, the problem is that with Indicate, this one at least, I don't know how it was for West, but a lot of the devs aren't even there. So
really?
I'll talk about that later. Yeah,
okay.
Off topic. I'll talk.
Yeah. You know, awesome. Like a lot of these are either some of them are games. There's also the Tripad, which is a touch-controlled multiplayer platform. Basically uses Launchpad minis, which are like the MIDI controllers with the buttons, and so there are like 80 different buttons that you can do with different things, and like, I don't know, maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's going to be sitting in your in your living room someday.
As I'm looking through this too, I mean, another game that I question its experimentalness, Maze of the Heart, because it's basically using Kinect in the same way that you would use like just Dance, that game that they use on the Kinect that they give with like Xbox now.
Well,
so you know what I'm saying? Like your body controls the robot and you dance. It's like it's the same concept as a bunch of games on the Kinect.
Yeah, I can see that. But you know, it's all experimental.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just questioning it just to be a dick, I guess.
That's true. Yeah. So definitely
your cynicism showing.
Yeah. For a full list.
Yeah, well, for this, tonight is just
yeah. Well, you know, putting aside Josh's exhaustion from the awesome stuff that he's doing at Indicate East, full list in the description, and you know what else has descriptions? Interviews, and we've got one for you today. Yeah,
that's a horrible segue.
Well,
what's sad is that's not even the worst one.
That's true. You're right.
That's we've ever done.
You've heard him already in the show. We've got Marc Straight with us. developer for Worlds of REM, like REM sleep. I made sure that I got that right because Josh always messes stuff up like that. Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, you're still with us. Good. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about, at least as much as you would like to say, about Worlds of REM that you and your team have been developing for however long you've been developing. A year, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the game it's a speed adventure platformer, and a lot of people are putting it in the horror genre, but it's as much horror as like Nightmare Before Christmas is. So it's like Disney level of horror,
So
if there is
like,
something like that.
It's like gothic, not really horror.
There's a lot of
something
really crazy
you would find
monsters.
at like Hot Topic.
I really hope it. I hope that isn't the thing because I don't want. Oh God. I don't want high school me playing this game.
This
Okay.
sucks.
Anyway, let me go away from that very terrible thought. Okay. So you play as a dream spirit named Tyne, and she's stuck in a nightmare world, and it kind of delves into what dreams are and what nightmares are. And the demo that we're releasing is actually Tyne in one of the worlds that are going to be in the full version of the game. She's in the garden theme, and that is going to be the end of it is you're fighting one of the world bosses, and it's going to be a lot of fun because he's completely batshit crazy and is ready to murder everything. And yeah, the game is. I'm really happy because we started as a very small game. We started as a game jam game, and we finished it, and we were like, "Wow, this is a lot more fun than we thought it was going to be at the end of it." So we decided to just make it into. I decided to make it into a full-fledged game, and we started with 3 or 4 people on the team, and now we're at 14 people dedicated plus 6 additional freelancers. No,
Ooh.
8 additional freelancers that came in just to collaborate with art.
So it's safe to say that things are getting pretty serious.
Yes, things got serious the moment that we were like, the moment we introduced 3D into the game, 3D models into the game. We kind of knew that it was getting really serious because just whenever you go and you put it in 3D, you essentially there's at least 3 people. Well, no. There's like 3 people that have to have their hands on each like 3D model. It's the modeler, it's the person rigging it, and then there's the animator. So every character, like every 3D character, is being touched by 3 different people. So you have to have a lot of hands working on there, and you have to be serious once you're at that point.
Yeah, with that many people involved, though, I mean, I assume you have to have a lot of communication, because otherwise, if you're not on the same page, that's when that starts to get messed up for the game.
Mm-hmm. That we have meetings for just different departments like once a week. So like the programmer, Josh and we talk every Tuesday. We have our art meetings every Thursday, and Felice, who is the art director, she and I talk pretty much every single day about stuff that's going on, and we just try to like communicate everything the best we can. So yeah, because the moment we stop communicating about stuff, that's when immediately whenever a problem happens, we're like, "Yep, we should have saw this coming." So,
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you even got, you got like a full team too. You even have that's how we, got in contact with you, is through a PR guy. So you're getting pretty serious about that. But interestingly, you have a Facebook and a Twitter, but you don't actually have a website. Is there a reason for that, or are you just not you don't want to put it out there that publicly yet, or?
Well, the website that we're working on is still in development. We had a smaller, less polished website that was like anything to write home about, and that was a weak point for us. And the entirety of what we're doing right now is like there's no weak point in the game, in my opinion. And I didn't want the website to be the letdown of everything that we worked so hard on. So I decided to revise it, and we're doing a very much more polished website for it, and it looks nice. And so yeah, we're working on that. It's going to be up in a couple of weeks. Actually, probably like a week. But
Cool.
it's definitely something that has been a focus, like, that we've been working on. But it's something that we also put slightly on the back burner for parts.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I guess that's actually one of the parts of indie development as opposed to, say, triple A development that I guess I never really considered fully, and that is, I mean, you do have to worry about the little things like that. Are there other little things that you didn't expect to crop up? I mean, you said the transition to 3D modeling was something that definitely serioused things up for you, but is there some other little thing, like along the lines of the website not being up to snuff, that kind of tripped you guys for a while?
First of all, the 3D modeler Nick just called me out. I said something incorrect. Felice is the art producer, so she leads everything with like 3D, 2D, all that stuff. And
Okay.
Max is the art director, so he finalizes all the concept art. My bad. Please stop yelling at me in Skype. Okay, now that that's over.
We can yell at you in the chat. That's even better.
Make it public. What was the question? I can't even remember it.
The question is,
other
are
weak
there
points.
other little things in the development process? Because I don't know what kind of real background you come from. Finding information on you and your team is kind of difficult. Granted, I only spent 6 hours, but like, were there other things in the process of making Worlds of REM to date that kind of little things that you wouldn't have expected to trip you guys up, that ended up being such a hazard?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was involving me. I was a positive and negative force simultaneously in the game development, because I'm colorblind to green, only green. So I started out, Felice wasn't a part of the team at all. So we had no art director, and I was fulfilling both roles, and I wasn't doing a very good job on the art side, because my career before this, I worked on games before this, but for the most part, it was only in sound. And so I'm very much so an auditory person. Like, I'm a composer. I do a little bit of sound design, but I'm kind of bad at it. And then, so everything with art, I dropped the ball on it a lot in the very beginning, and that really kind of hindered us a lot. And so it took me like reaching out to Felice and being like, hey, you can see colors, right? You can organize things, right? Hey, you want to be our art producer? And just like she does a lot of other things, but it was basically like I really needed someone with a very good set of eyes that can lead the direction for the art style of the game, and that was Felice. Like, she's done an amazing job at that, and so like that's one of the most major things. The other one is we didn't change pre-production from the Game Jam version to the to the bigger version of the game. We didn't go back into pre-production whatsoever. For anyone that is familiar with games, that is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Ever. It is so dumb. I'm an idiot. Don't do what I do.
So I guess a kind of follow-up question to something that you mentioned there. I'm a monochromat. I am completely colorblind, and you're colorblind to the color green. Are you going to add any functionality to adjust for things like color blindness?
There's nothing color coded specifically that alters the game for anybody.
Okay.
So like there are things that are there. There's little tooltips, because I dislike tutorials. I think that tutorials in games, it kind of broadcasts that the developer thinks that the player is an idiot. For the most part, in most games, that's kind of what the development. That's kind of like what the tutorial is broadcasting for.
The learning curve should be kind of integrated very smoothly that you almost don't even realize. Yeah, it's like teaching you.
Yeah, and that's just good game design. And
I think it's kind of like the sequelitis thing of the sequelitis of Mega Man X. Totally spot on to how I feel. Like, totally spot on. So that is definitely something you should watch on YouTube. Anyway, so with that said, I really kind of wanted to make sure that everything with the game, there wasn't a point where you're just like, yeah, I get it, stop trying to like force me into doing something whenever I don't want to. And so like whenever it comes to like tutorials, I didn't want to have that, so I wanted to make sure like everything mechanic wise you understood it and followed it. So everything, like there's colors to certain things, like whenever you do a ranged attack, if there's something that you can interact with your ranged attack, it glows white. I'm going to say this like just because people are going to see this at PAX, and I don't like, it's just something that will help. So like if it glows white, and so you can interact with it because of that, and that's awesome. And then like whenever you have something that you interact with that you're able to like do more damage to, like it'll glow after you hit it with your ranged attack. It might glow either blue or red. That's one thing we haven't decided on. And from that, it'll then like basically there's going to be slight glow triggers to certain things, but overall color
but
is
nothing that's specifically color coded.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So
well, that's cool.
So
wait, who's going next?
I haven't asked a question in a while.
Okay,
I'm asking the big Indie Game Riot question here. So on Indie Game Riot, if you haven't already noticed, we're really big on community, talking to people. That's why we go to as many conventions as we can. That's why we talk to as many devs as we possibly can. So what is your favorite memory of the indie game community, or one thing that you love about the community around indie games? Anything around basically that.
That was the most malformed question.
Yeah, sorry. What do you like about the indie game community?
That was the question that I was going to ask.
Yeah, I know.
What is my favorite part about indie games?
The community around them.
Yeah,
okay,
like,
well,
what's your favorite thing about the indie game community?
Well, it's pretty much the reason why I got into game design, because like whenever I first started, I was friends with someone who was well established in games, and I kind of was like, hey, this seems fun, because it seemed like just a bunch, like the community seems like a bunch of friends, just like, hey, we need this piece, like we need this piece. Does anyone have someone who like, or have like knowledge of someone that does this? And like people just come together and they make a team and they do stuff, and that's really cool, because for me, I was an outsider. Like I've always been an outsider, and I'm pretty okay with that because I'm an introvert. But like I've always been like the outsider for a lot of things, and so it felt like the community felt like a place where everyone was like, hey, we're all kind of outsiders in our own way, and that's okay because we can still be friends and still, be in our own homes where it's safe. So the community itself is really everything that I love, because whenever it comes down to it, we all we help each other in a lot of ways. Like Indie Team Up was a podcast that we did, and also it's a new website that people can just make indie teams now. Everyone just goes on the site. You're looking for a certain thing, you find the person who does that, and you work together. Like that type of stuff is what I love about the indie games community, because it's just a bunch of people that want to do stuff together, and that's cool. Super cool.
Definitely, that's really cool.
What about? I mean, as far as Worlds of REM goes, are there any specific indie games that you've experienced that kind of influenced it, or is it more influenced from a AAA game, or you just come up with it off the top of your head?
I'm really influenced by, a lot of the mechanics were influenced by a myriad of games. It was like I really liked Mega Man's design as far as designing levels without tutorials. So I try to. That's how my level design. Like that's how the level design happened. Mechanic design came from Demon's Crest, just flat out. Demon's Crest was one of my favorite games growing up. Still kind of is, because I'm playing through it again and I'm losing terribly and I hate it. Moreover, like a lot of like the mechanic design came from Demon's Crest. A lot of other games like influence, but artistically, it came from film. Like Nightmare Before Christmas was a big thing for me. I really love Miyazaki, and that was kind of like another art style that Max he brought into it, and it made everything amazingly better. But yeah, all the art was pretty much influenced by movies, and the game designs were just influenced by retro games that brought something that hasn't been focused on a lot. Like with the mechanics, just in general, there isn't a lot of very hard bosses anymore in games. Like whenever I play Demon's Crest, I get my ass kicked a lot, but it's super rewarding whenever I beat the actual enemy. Like that's the one thing about that game that keeps me coming back. It's like the reward of, oh my god, I beat it. How did I do that? Like that's amazing, and there's not enough of that now because everything just kind of feels really simple.
I feel like it's easier to make an easy boss. It's sort of just like, oh yeah, give him some health, give him this, and then have him go at it. Whereas, like, actually making a challenging boss that isn't impossible to beat, but actually requires you to get better and play the game takes a lot more effort.
And that's kind of why I have a love-hate relationships with Dark Souls and Demon Souls. I really hate the game because I can't play it at all. I'm terrible at it. But I respect the level design and the mechanic design because it was just done in a way that is beyond like what I could even do. Because I just found out today, like I looked through all the level design of it and I was just blown away with how good it was.
So, quick question on Worlds of REM, because from what you've described and what little I've been able to see, I'm kind of curious as to the personal influence. I mean, you've kind of talked about the artistic influence and stuff like that, but is there anything personal in either your own experience or somebody else on the team that provided the kind of thematic design to the game?
I think it was just kind of everyone working together because, as I said before, we skipped pre-production phase going from the game jam version to the full game version. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we had a blank palette, but it looked like a blank palette, but it wasn't, because we had like the game jam version, which was the main character was a ball of light. Like, it wasn't even the same. We don't even have the same character. It's just the same name. And there was a lot of stuff like that where we kind of brought in a bunch of different things together. I originally wanted Time to be a rabbit because I didn't want humans in this game at all. Mm-hmm. Because it was a bunch of spirits, so I thought they should be weird and they should be quirky and fun. And I don't associate quirky and fun with like just Joe. He's a plumber. Meet Joe. Hi. Like, I don't associate fun with that. Like, so because of that, we had no humans in there, so we made Time a bunny creature, and we just did stuff like that, which influenced the beginning. And Lisa Hignett, which was the first designer of Time, she's the one who made like the first concept sketch, which is how we based the entire art style for a lot of it, and we kind of just evolved it from there. But the original start was from her, and just her stylism that she brought to the table that we just kind of adopted and ran with. And so it was a mix of just everyone's influences and just ideals for like what they love that made the game the way it is, which is really cool because it was very much so a complete team design. Not just one person with an idea.
Now, I did want to mention you guys have sorry, I keep asking all these questions, but I'm not.
That's
seeing...
okay.
Okay.
No, it's totally fun.
Yeah, I'm totally hamming it up.
I'm just
playing
enjoying
Josh.
listening.
I see.
Yeah. So before the show, we were kind of talking about some of the other interesting things, and you mentioned that you guys have voice acting in the game, and that you actually have some decent names. I'm gonna mispronounce it because like Daniel and Danielle are so similar in my head. Danielle McCrae, or is it Daniel?
Danielle.
Danielle. Okay, I'm sorry.
I do the same thing, dude.
Rev English.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rev English names. Danielle McCrae, who does the voice of Painwheel from Skullgirls, is doing a voice or doing several voices?
She's one voice. She's the voice of Dream Eater, which is a mini boss.
Oh, okay. So do you have other relatively, I guess, popular voice actors?
Oh yeah, Laura Post is she plays Valentine on Skullgirls, and also Ari in League of Legends. She's the voice of our main character. She's the voice of Tyne.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
Excellent. So,
That's awesome.
and she's actually done quite a bit. I mean, she was she was in World of Warcraft, and yeah. Okay. Wow.
League of Legends is pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't play League of Legends. I'm not a MOBA fan. But yeah. Well, that's really cool. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
That's out there.
I mean, I've just been enjoying listening so much, like about the development and the unfolding of this game, and the fact that and I'm looking at the chat too, and we've got some of the other people, some of the other team members talking with us live right now, and just the fact that they all care, like everybody is just so dedicated and into this and really wants this to succeed and is putting like their heart out into it is just it's clear with talking to you, Mark. It's clear with talking to these guys in the chat, and it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that there are people who are having fun, working really hard, and just loving what they do.
Yeah, this is a passion project for all of us. Like
That's just your indigestion.
That's
yeah,
yeah.
It's a passion project for all of us because like we don't have funding, and we wanted to make games. Like there's a lot of us, or at least like some of us are like new to game design. Some of us are we've been with several titles, or some of us are just like we've graduated, we have degrees, and like we haven't been able to do anything with them. And so like there's a bunch of different experience levels in here, and that makes really cool shit because like whenever you're new to something, and this is like one thing that I stand by because I noticed it in myself. When you're new into something, you don't understand limits, and that's great because the moment you understand a limit, you don't try to push it any further. And that really is like the problem with game design, because like one of the cool things that we're doing with REM is something that you'll see in the demo, maybe because it's a secret. And one of the things that's in there is just that like there's mechanics that still haven't been touched in game design. Like we're still in the infancy of just well-established games. And that's weird That's super weird. Like, there's a game that came out last year. It was called Contrast, not an indie game, by the way. I'm pretty sure it wasn't indie, but it was called Contrast. Yeah.
Isn't that the one where you use like light to get across like different
shadow?
Yeah. I thought that was an indie game.
I'm not sure. I didn't know what. I don't know the funding situation it is, but it was amazing. Like, it's still one of the games I played just for fun because no one has made a game like that. Like, I don't understand how we've gotten this far in game design, but no one made a game where you could run on shadows and it goes from 3D to 2D like that. Like, I don't understand how we've gotten this far in games, but still haven't explored as nearly as much.
Yeah,
and like
I was actually talking to a guy about that today. I was in they have a Leap Motion. You ever hear of Leap Motion?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I was in a Leap Motion exhibit at Indiecade, and there's this guy who works for them part-time, but he also does game dev, and he created, it's not really even a game, it's more of just like a project that he was working on, where basically using the Oculus and the Leap Motion, you can see your hands, you're touching the walls in this, like there's like a giant face statue thing, and you can like manipulate and morph everything just by barely touching it. It ripples and it's cool. But I was talking to him about it, and it's just like it. I mean, along with indie games opening up a whole new area of gaming because there's not as many constrictions. You're also talking about like advancement in technology that can couple with that to just create these things that you're just like, holy crap, I didn't know this was possible. Because you think about it too, especially when you're looking at consoles, you're like, okay, well, yeah, better graphics, but how much more can this really go? How far can it really go? And then someone just kind of like, there it goes. You're like mind blown. I thought I saw it all. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, one of our audience members in chat actually kind of phrased it just so. It's like there's so much, to quote Keen, there's so much available to us in the virtual world. Why do we spend so much time trying to simulate the real world? And no, that fits perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
I do want to put Marc on the spot though, from one of our audience members, and I'm not going to mention who. He can probably talk to them on Skype later if he wants. But how many times have you had to remake the boss theme?
Don't you dare! Don't you fucking dare!
well, on that note, make sure that if you are going to PAX East, definitely check out Worlds of REM. They will be there. Make sure you get a dedicated internet connection to tell everybody about it, because it's not going to work. They're going to have a demo. Probably, you guys are probably going to be, anyone who's going there and playing this game, you guys are going to be the first people, other than the dev team, really to play this game, right?
Yep.
So yeah, definitely.
We're going to...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We were going to like launch like a pre thing, like an early access thing, but we want to polish it, like just to make it like a PAX release thing. Like we're going to have everything ready 100%, and we're just going to test internally for it. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever need some testers, or once PAX is over, because I know you guys are getting crunchy for that, feel free to hit us up.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
We'd be more than happy to. This sounds
definitely
awesome.
So Marc Straight of Panic Games, developing World of REM. Worlds of REM. I'm sorry, Worlds of REM. It's right in front of me too. Make sure that you could check stuff out in the description. Your Twitter is at
Worlds of REM.
Worlds of REM.
Mm-hmm. And also Facebook. I think you guys probably use Facebook more often, right?
We use a mix of both, but we're more interactive with Twitter because the dev team we all have Twitters.
Okay.
And so like we sometimes just someone else will answer outside of that, and so you get to kind of like feel the connection of everyone working together on it.
All right. So unfortunately, I was gonna try to think of a segue, but because this show's sort of switching it up with stuff, I don't know what Josh plans on doing. So, Josh, do you just want to lead us into whatever we're talking about next?
This is
well,
miscellaneous games.
Yeah, it's a special episode.
This week, we've got the Indie Game Riot Indie Game Shuffle. Basically, these are games that we wanted to talk about on the show, but they didn't quite fit into the segments that we have, but we really wanted to talk about them, so we gave them their own little show, little segment on this show. So the first game we're going to be talking about is, it's surprisingly hard to say. It's very easy to read. It's Neon XSZ. This game is it's a first-person shooter where you play in a ship, and you basically yep. you are playing in a ship. Sorry, I got all turned around with the switching of stuff. You have a ship, and it's a very open game. There are millions of different combinations and upgrades and weapons that you can do. Right now, I think they just upped the number of upgrades to about 900.
Over 900,
and you are basically thrown into this world where there are things attacking the operating system, which is what you exist in, and you can choose to attack them. And first person mechanics in 3 axes, or forward, back, left and right, and then up and down exist. Sort of flying game.
This is Descent, but awesome.
Yeah, it's very
awesome.
Yeah,
I do have to say that Neon XSZ, when you're playing it, the flight is smooth.
Yeah, definitely
smooth as butter.
Yeah, and
it is a steep learning curve. I do have to say that.
And the thing that totally just blew my mind away with this is, as soon as they're like, oh yeah, help defend your OS, or you could just start killing friendlies and become one of the bad guys. And it's like, all of a sudden, this game becomes not like a sandbox game, but almost. It's like, hey, you're a thing. Do things, like
that was so descriptive.
No, but really, it's like, do you want to kill those guys? Do you want to kill those guys? Like, there is standing with the operating system. There's just a lot. There's a lot here. It looks awesome. It controls really well, and I think it's on sale right now.
Not based on their website. However, it is a operating system neutral game. It works on PC, Mac, and Linux at 32 and 64-bit with no DRM. It is $19.99. You can get it on Steam.
The dev Intravenous. Am I saying that right? Software. Intravenous software, and no one caught that. Not at all.
We all chuckled and grimaced.
No. Yeah, no, it was a bad thing, bad joke. I'm sorry. But anyway, he's a super nice guy, and I just ruined his company's name. And he was kind enough to actually gift me a copy of this so I could try it out a long time ago. And I've been wanting to give it more attention because it's such a good game, but it wasn't really quite. It's not the kind of game that would really fit into our normal segments, I thought, anyway. So I figured this is a good time. He also, just so you know, if you go in and play the game, probably the first, instinctually, you just want. The first thing you want to do is just jet, just do crazy, like Star Wars maneuvers through the tiny little tunnels. You know what I mean? Like you're going in to destroy the Death Star. But you probably want to take it slow. Try flying around just a little bit, maybe going after some enemies before you start, just because you can go pretty fast once you get your momentum going. And by the way, since this isn't like a kind of a space kind of a feel, even though it's more digital, but it's still it's as if there is no friction. So okay. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no friction in digital worlds.
Yeah.
Electricity.
Okay.
It's got to be. I don't know. There's got to be something. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. There's no friction, so you actually, once you move, you don't stop. You can slow down,
Gotcha.
but you're not going to stop.
So it's like
so
space.
you
Yeah.
kind of have to counteract whatever you're doing as far as flying goes.
Oh, that's going to be awesome! I can't wait. One thing I did want to point out, and Paul, the developer, did point out in his press info, it's not Neon XZS. It's pronounced Neon XSZ.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually right.
Okay.
XSS.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good. No, there's actually some interesting controls that he's allowing the players to play around with. It's the kind of thing that I'm actually appreciative of, because you don't see that as often anymore. The game has been. The game caters to all sorts of skill levels, and you have the option and ability to customize your enemy damage and their AI and how good they are, as well as stuff like slowing your game speed down, or increasing the game speed. And normally, like, it used to be you could unlock those things, or you'd have a cheat code or something like that. And nowadays you don't get anything like that. So I like the fact that he's adding that kind of customization to it. And just some other stuff about the game. It's he says, and I'm gonna have to trust him on this because I don't have it myself. I'll probably end up buying it after tonight's show. The first 30 hours of the game are basically complete, and the remaining section of the game is about 75% content complete. So he's like, they're estimating it's a 100+ hour game, and they're going to be adding new content, new arenas and stuff as they continue on.
$20. 100 hours.
$20.
Bam. Take that one to the bank.
Or take it out of the bank, actually.
Yeah, take it out of the bank. Take it out of the bank and send it to those guys. Neon Excesses.
Music by Python Blue. I don't know if you recall those guys. We've mentioned them a couple of times on the show. So, no, it's like everything I wish Descent was back in the day, but now.
Yeah, definitely. Seamless.
Oh, yeah. That was before you were born.
You know what'll take you back to the good old days?
What's that?
Pixelia games, like Legends of Pixelia, and miscellaneous games too.
And next on our indie game shuffle, we have Legends of Pixelia. This is kind of a throwback game. It kind of hits my nostalgia. It seems to be an action role-playing game, but they're actually working on or have integrated, modern controls. It's not just a left click or right click to attack and then keep attacking until enemy dies. It's a fighting game, and it's using definitely the old style retro pixel art. And I think fairly certain it was intentional to twig into the nostalgia. They have multiple classes and leveling system as such, but they also, and this is the part that I really was appreciative of, they are allowing for multiplayer co-op, local multiplayer co-op. And we've kind of been on this kick for a bit lately, where some games are absolutely fantastic for first person or for single player games, but there's others that they go single player route, and we just wish that they were not, that they would allow the co-op, let alone the multiplayer, like local co-op, because nobody does that anymore either. This game is also a roguelike, so everything is procedurally generated. The dungeons are all just randomized, so you can totally get screwed on level 1, and you can also get a really easy cakewalk until level 60. But your skill plays the larger role, regardless of whether or not your character has a strength of 100 or a strength of 10. If you're doing good at the game, you're going to do good at the game, and it kind of the one thing that I'm concerned about in this game is that they try and mesh rather so much into it. They add the beat 'em up aspect, they add the fighting aspect, they add the RPG aspect.
So you're worried about like the scope.
I'm not necessarily
the scope of it.
Not necessarily the full scope. The part that concerns me is that when you try to do many things really well, you tend to do nothing really well. I mean, you think back to some of the best designed games.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
It's because you're not focusing on it.
Exactly.
You're not perfecting it.
Exactly, and that is a concern that I have, but I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and see what happens on this. I'm looking for the price right now, and I'm not seeing it. But Sima Games out of Berlin is the people that made this. You can get it on IndieDB at the moment. And damn it, where's the price?
I know, I'm looking for it too.
Is
it
okay.
free? No, it's not officially. It's not officially out yet.
Yeah.
That's right. Still in demo. They've got a demo. They're running an Indiegogo they're about to release a demo, Indiegogo campaign, and their Greenlight campaign. And that information is fresh as of the 10th of February. So,
by the way, do you remember? I don't know. I forget what episode it was, but we talked about top-down isometrics were like a thing that just kept happening, and I feel like roguelikes are now that
the thing that's happening. Yeah,
that's just like it's like roguelike.
Well, but they're fun.
I think part of that it comes from the design decision. It's really hard, and I'm sure any of our guests that have been on here that are doing a story-driven game would definitely agree. It's really hard to craft a experience that is solid. I mean, we can compare it to some of our AAA trash. I mean, how hard is it for them to do a Call of Duty, for example, that has an amazing story? You end up with 30 minutes of good story spread out over 8 hours of gameplay. Yeah. And I think the roguelike allows dev teams to kind of skip on the
focus more on the gameplay instead.
As opposed to trying to craft the story of the game.
And if the gameplay's fun, I mean, really, there are two main things that keep you playing a game, and that's the gameplay and then the story behind it. And
I think
you can
the
have
replayability too.
Oh, that's true. Well, I think that goes into sort of gameplay, and if you can craft a story around gameplay. You can have a story that is procedurally generated, or you can allow the player to make their own story. And I think that's sort of just where a lot of these games are moving towards. A lot of player freedom, a lot more options for the player, and like worlds that interest them in multiple ways over multiple hours, multiple different playthroughs. So,
which is something that a lot of gamers have been requesting for
exactly.
years upon years. I mean, I remember playing Baldur's Gate back in the day and going, this was fun and all, but I would really love to do my own story using this. Yeah. And you could mod it and stuff like that, but I'm horrible at that sort of thing. That's why I became a pen and paper dungeon master as opposed to a video game dungeon master. And so, huh?
Well, I think that it, I like that, and you're right. People have been asking, like, let me have, you know, what would be the perfect game? The game that I want to play.
Yeah.
And I like that people are trying to give, you know, the people what they want, people the game that they want to play. At the same time, I'm afraid that it's going to stunt certain aspects of indie games creativity if people don't, you know, also do narrative games.
We have plenty of narrative games.
Imagine if Ed McMillan did Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac. Imagine if it was like, okay, you know what's the thing right now? People want their own story. Here's a roguelike, here's Binding of Isaac. And just never did Super Meat Boy. Then we'd never have freaking Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is an excellent game.
I don't think I think that in this case you're being a tad bit too cynical for it, because for every major roguelike that comes out, I mean, and we've talked about plenty of them on here on the show, like fully half of our games are roguelikes. But you know, it's for every single one that is can kind of meet that criteria. There's also, you know, Tales of a Dark Lord, or you know, what are some of the other Never-Ending Nightmares, and you know, those are narrative games that, you know, Children of Liberty is another great example. They're narrative games that don't rely on that, and they're all fantastic games. And so I think that for every major popular roguelike, there's also a major popular narrative that comes along.
I think what I'm saying is just basically is more like I think I'm more talking to just devs in general, or like aspiring devs or people trying to come up with new ideas. Don't be afraid of narrative. Just because it might be easier to focus on solely gameplay and replayability, don't be afraid of narrative. That's because I just don't want to. Someone at that at the panel I was at today mentioned, you know, press and game journalists and things like that. The biggest thing that they're afraid of is having a great game fall through the cracks. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm afraid of, is that people are going to be like, this is what people want, this is what's selling. You know, they're worried about the money. This is easier to make because it's less things to have to deal with. I just don't want people to be afraid of creating great games outside of, you know, these kinds of games. But
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, because part of the whole indie culture is the aspect of, you know, well, we're not. It's almost kind of the punk aspect to it. You know, we are the underground, and so yeah, sure, it may not be. No, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. Just a message that we like both things.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, back to Legends of Pixelia.
To be determined. Any last thoughts on it, guys?
I say that I need more friends when I play sort of couch co-op games, and having been able to play more couch co-op games with friends recently, especially since MagFest, I can say that the more of them you have, and basically the more of them you have, there's only going to be more fun. Like, play one for an hour, play another one for an hour. Oh, I go back to this one. Like, having more of them and having fun ones is really important, and I'm really looking forward to this one coming out and seeing what it really has to offer.
Fair enough. So, moving along, game number 3 of the Indie Game Shuffle, Bernie Needs Love.